Like, what are we doing to really achieve significance and not just success? Because in working with some of the highest level athletes in the world, and you mentioned earlier on, everything from Super Bowl MVPs to league MVPs and everything else, I'm always like, there's always another level that we can get to in all areas of our life. There's always another way to be a better husband or a better spouse, or to give back more, because now that you made $100 million contract, now what can we do to go back and really leave a legacy?
Hello and welcome to the Wellness Dojo Podcast, where we bring real solutions to real health and wellness problems. Today, I'm excited to have Todd Durkin join the show. Todd is a world-renowned fitness coach who works with high-level athletes, including NFL superstars. Today, we dive into the mindset of an elite athlete and how you can adopt that mindset to achieve big success in your life. Excited for you to hear this episode, so let's get into it. And we are back for another episode of the Wellness Dojo Podcast. I'm your host, Craik, and today I'm super excited. I mean, it's like Christmas has come early. We've got a legend in the house. He's a world-renowned fitness coach, gym owner, motivational speaker. His gym, Fitness Quest 10 in San Diego, has been named in the top 10 gyms in America for more than 5 years. He's worked with top-level athletes, including Super Bowl champions, MVP players, Olympic and X Game gold medalists, and that's just to name a few. Welcome to the show, Mr. Todd Durkin.
Kyle, thank you, man. I'm pumped up to be here. I appreciate you having me.
Yeah, I'm so pumped to have you here. I mean, first of all, I just want to say thank you to you, because I'm a big believer in finding mentors from near and far. And you're somebody who just brings the inspiration to people world round. Like, I'm from Canada. I'm here in Calgary, Alberta. And you've been an inspiration for me in my early years as a fitness pro. So thank you, first of all, for everything that you do. And yeah, excited to have you here.
Kyle, thank you very much. Mentors are a part of everyone's life who's looking to, really get to that next level. I've had mentors my own since high school, literally all the way up through now. I've mentors in different areas of my life. So I really value mentorship, whether receiving or now coaching a lot of not only fit pros, but even just people who are looking to get to the best version of themselves. I really, really value and treasure the ability to mentor people.
Yeah. And I know you hold very dear the title of coach. I know that's I've heard you speak about that before, and I as well kind of I reciprocate that as well. I hold it very, very high, that title of being a coach and being a mentor, and super important. And another thing that we have in common is, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe you also started out as a massage therapist. Is that correct?
I did. Yes, I did. It was a big part of what I did for the first decade of what I did. My entire business model was built on one-on-one training and massage therapy. And when I started out, we just had 2,000 square feet, and 1,000 square feet of that was training. And then we had 3 treatment rooms as well. And that was for body work, massage. And I love the ability to go back and forth between doing body work and massage, and then also training someone as well. So it's still a part and staple of our structure and system at Fitness Quest 10. It's a part of everything that's just part of my DNA is body work.
Yeah. And it's such an important thing to have. I've learned with doing massage therapy as well, as having those other supplemental things, because it's a difficult thing on the body, right?
Yeah, that's one of the things, no doubt. I was like, man, I was doing 12 to 20 sessions of body work a week. And I'm like, I don't know if I can do this in another 5-10 years from now. I better make sure I can build up my training. And obviously, I really love the benefits of massage. I actually did my graduate thesis work on massage therapy. It was the physiological and psychological effects of massage therapy on stress and anxiety. That was in the late 90s. Little did I know that, 22 years later, when the pandemic hit, of how important touch was to the human being. Because when people couldn't touch, there's still this other pandemic going on of people who have been ostracized, not been touched, and fearful of being around other people and touch and all the other stuff. But skin is the largest organ of the body, and touch therapy is so important, regardless of the modality or type of massage that one would use or receive. Touch therapy is really, really important to healing physically, emotionally, right? And when I studied not only just sports massage and that, I got into Rolfing and Feldenkrais work and all this deeper kind of emotional release work. I really got enamored and fascinated with healing and emotional release and that type of stuff. So it's been a part of who I am for many years. And Kyle, not everyone knows that. People always think, oh, you're the guy who trains a lot of these NFL or, fighters or Major League Baseball guys. I'm like, yeah, I do. But that's actually how I got started, was with touch therapy, and a pro athlete coming into my business many moons ago. And I didn't even know he was a pro athlete. He had a bad back. And next thing I know, I'm a sports massage therapist for the San Diego Chargers, which they're now the LA Chargers, but back in the day, they were the San Diego Chargers. That led me to a guy named Ladainian Tomlinson, who was a running back for the Chargers, who was the #1 draft pick, who I started to train. He brought in Drew Brees, and then Drew, I've been training now for 21 years. So it all started with massage and body work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's, I'm fascinated by just learning about people's roots. And, even my business is deep rooted in my childhood of martial arts and how that developed me into a person. And so I'm really fascinated to hear more about kind of how you went from, you kind of touched on it there, but how you went from this, massage therapist who was starting out his fitness career as well, to then working with people, like you said, like Drew Brees. I know, like Reggie Bush, Shaun White, some of these like really big names in sports.
I'll step back before I step forward, because all of this started because I was an athlete. I played football in college, went over to Europe. I played professionally in Europe. I blew out my back. Right? There's always a story behind the story. And that back injury, 3 herniated discs, spinal stenosis, degenerative back disease, left me motionless on a football field in France. And my dream of playing in the NFL was over. So I went down this 5-year healing journey to try to heal my own back pain without having surgery. And that really got me deeper and deeper and deeper into the massage therapy side, because being an athlete, I didn't know if I wanted to go to physical therapy school or go to be a doctor or be just a coach of football and a teacher. But I really got enamored with the healing side and the performance side. So I was like, okay, how do I combine the best of the Eastern world and the best of the Western world? And that is what allowed me, when I opened my shingle in year 2000, ultimately with no clients, no money, no business plan. It was that dichotomy of personal training to anyone. If you wanted to be helped, I want to help you. I had no clients. I was like, it didn't matter if you were 70-year-old or you were 20 years old, but I did miss working with athletes after 2 years of being in my practice. I'm like, man, I really do miss, being an athlete and working with athletes. So that's when this guy, Vaughn Parker, came into my life. His wife was doing Pilates, and then, didn't know that he was the starting left tackle for the Chargers. How I got working with those guys was because Vaughn Parker told the athletic trainer, the ATC, that he found a guy that, would be great to come in on Mondays after the games, and in the team room, open up my table and start to stretch guys, do soft tissue work, body work. And that's how it happened. And word of mouth. All of it was word of mouth, because LT told Drew told Sproulsy, LT mentored Reggie Bush. So Reggie started, who's from San Diego, started coming in with ladainian, and it was all word of mouth. And when I say word of mouth, it was because I really cared for my guys and love my athletes who I work with. No different, though. I'd have those guys training right next to Donna Dickinson, the 65-year-old grandma who is just trying to stay on the tennis court. People are like, why don't you get an athlete performance facility that just does athletes? I'm like, why would I do something stupid like that? Like, everyone's the same. We just want to get better. I don't care if you're LT making 20 million, or Drew making 100 million. Drew, to this day, comes in, trains with me, and he's right next to, Staff Walker, the 85-year-old who's just trying to stay alive and feel good. He goes with the kid. Like, it doesn't matter. Like, when you're here, you're just training to be better. and we're all just human beings, doing the best we can to get our minds right and stay healthy. So that was how I got working with those, you said, those high level athletes, because I learned in the athlete world, it's all word of mouth. You only need the first one. When you get one good one, they bring a friend in, or if you really just genuinely care and go out of your way to help all people, not just because they can help you, then good things happen.
Yeah. I mean, that just speaks. I haven't had the pleasure to come and visit your facility yet. One day, maybe that would be amazing. But it just speaks volumes to what the culture there must be, and again, why you would be have the accolades that you do with your gym. That culture of like being able to have this top level athlete who I imagine sometimes has people coming up to him trying to bug him, and but having that culture of like everybody's the same, everybody's here for the for a purpose, and we're just here to work. That's truly amazing, man.
You'll probably like this, being Canadian. We have a fair amount of NHL guys
Oh yeah,
come to San Diego, which is first learned of this. I'm like, that's crazy that we'd have NHL guys, but they wanted to spend a couple months in some warm weather. And one of the guys, Thatcher Demko, a goalie with the Canucks, right? He lives in Scripps Ranch. It's where he grew up. It was right here in the town. And there's not a lot of guys that grew up in San Diego that are in the NHL, and Demko is one of them. And he's been here since he's been in college here training. And obviously it's always cool to see some of those hockey guys do what they do too.
Yeah. I mean, all those athletes are just so incredible. I know I've early in my massage career, I had the opportunity to work with some of the guys in the CFL, the Canadian Football League, also some of the NHL guys as well. Same thing, just kind of being in the right place at the right time, and starting to kind of build a little bit of word of mouth in that way. But I did recognize there was a big difference between working with some of those athletes compared to somebody who's just coming in for, relieving some back tension. What I noticed the most in that field, especially, is just they're very particular about what they want done, how they want it done, and you have to really build a strong rapport with that. I'm curious, in the fitness sense, especially, what some of the biggest differences that you've maybe noticed between working with elite athletes versus just, Susan coming in off the street ready to, maybe lose 50 pounds.
Yeah. A few of the biggest differences is, the first one might surprise you, is a lot of these guys and gals have the same problems off the field or off the court or off the ice that everyone else has. And people don't know that they're struggling with insecurity, or they're feeling empty, or they're feeling lost, or they're feeling depressed. People are like, what? They're making $10 million a year. I'm like, I don't care. Why do I share that? Is because one of the things that I like to do initially is really get to know them as people and find out what their insecurities are, where are they struggling in life or their marriage right now. As a parent, if they are a parent, how can they be better? Why? Because as an athlete, as a pro, you have, let's say, 4 to 6 hours potentially to work a day. Yeah, training for 4 to 6 hours, but between film review, interviews, what about the other hours? Like, how can you ramp up? And recovery is included in there, obviously. I like to go into all aspects: physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, relationally, financially, philanthropically. Like, what are we doing to really achieve significance and not just success? Because in working with some of the highest level athletes in the world, and you mentioned earlier on, everything from Super Bowl MVPs to league MVPs and everything else, I'm always like, there's always another level that we can get to in all areas of our life. There's always another way to be a better husband or a better spouse, or to give back more, because now that you made $100 million contract, now what can we do to go back and really leave a legacy? So I share that because it's not an answer most people would think, because these guys all have feelings too. They all have emotions, and they have insecurities. Many of them are insecure. So It's not always what you think on the outside or what you see on TV. And I like to go in there, and when I say get your mind right, is to really continue to fortify and build them up as men or women, and and build them from the inside out versus the outside in. I want to get faster, more explosive, and I want my 40 time to go down. Awesome, I can help you with all that, and I can. But the other stuff's going to be really important too, because someday when all this stuff ends, we got to make sure that your marriage is still intact, that your finances are still intact, you are still intact, and you still have a purpose. That just because of who you are and what you do is not necessarily what you do is who you are.
Yeah.
Right. So I go in on the inside, on the mental side, as much as anything else.
Yeah. There's a couple things there that I want to acknowledge that you touched on, because I'm so glad that you touched on them. The first is, like you said, how I think it's easy for somebody who's maybe even new to fitness and looking at elite athletes and dealing with that insecurity of maybe first going to the gym, or dealing with the aches and pains of starting to exercise, those types of things, and to look at some of these people that they maybe look up to and that they aspire to be like, and go, well, they've got all the resources, they've got all the this and that, but they've also got all the same problems that they're also working through and having to, they still got to pull themselves off the couch, and they're still going to have low days where they don't want to work out, but they got to get there. Right.
Yeah.
And then the other thing that really stuck out to me there was this idea that, like, there's always another level. And I think, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, or I'll kind of throw this to you as a bit of a question or a follow-up, is that one of the big differences with an athlete or an elite athlete, where they're always looking for that next level, or I like to look at it as like the purpose versus like over the goal or under the goal, where it's like, okay, we achieve goals, but there's always this purpose that we're working towards, or there's, like you said, there's always this next level.
Yeah, no doubt. And there is always a next level for all of us, whether you're 25, you're 50, or you're 75, there's always a next level. I call it the edge. What's your edge? What are you really good at? Because you may be surprised when you saw a workout in phase one, the first 3 weeks of someone's program, you're like, wait, that's an NFL quarterback? And it's a really basic program. There's nothing really that crazy about it. Yeah. Sometimes their fitness isn't really where it should be. Now we go out to the field and start doing some throws. You're like, oh, that's an NFL quarterback, right? But sometimes the fitness, you got to build up that base, especially in the off season, and not just, you're not like putting just all these crazy hard drills in initially and doing overspeed training with belts and bungees and all this other stuff that sometimes initially in my career, I was like, oh my God, what am I going to do with these guys? I have no idea. I realized you don't train them that much different, especially in the beginning, until they start to really get close to reporting to their training camp and really amping it up. So I think that's something that's important to recognize. And the other part to that question that I'll answer, Kyle, is I didn't understand this when he said it, and now I do. 2006, LaDainian Tomlinson just won the league MVP, best player in the NFL. The first week back in training, a week after the season was over, he said to me, what's next? What's next? I'm like, what do you mean, what's next? He's like, I'm not as motivated. I'm not as motivated as I normally have been. When he first came in 4 years prior, he told me he wanted to be the best to ever play the game, that he wanted to be a league MVP. And, he wanted to play like a scared rabbit where no one could touch him. Well, he just won the league MVP. Well, he wasn't yet the best to ever play the game. He had lost some of the motivation because he had just won that highest award. I'm like, win it again. Like, let's go. But I didn't understand it then. Now, when you're at the top of your game, when you're at the top of your career, you've already achieved success, you're at a certain level financially, what is it that motivates you? What is it that inspires you to say there's another level? And what is that? I didn't understand it when I was a young, 33-year-old trainer. Now at 51, I get it. Of when you're at the top of your game, there's got to be a deeper game that you're playing for than just let's do it again. let's just repeat it. Because after 5 years or 10 years of doing the same thing at a high level, you got to find a deeper purpose to play the game, whatever your game is, whether it's football, whether it's business, entrepreneurism, coaching, like what is it? And things change, things evolve, seasons change. You have losing seasons, you have winning seasons. I mean, and I learned that personally, like throughout the last few years, is that, even the best of the best coaches, the best players, athletes, entrepreneurs, executives, parents, there's losing seasons. You just can't have multiple losing seasons year after year after year after year. So when you ask about that, I think about the world's best, and LT is a great example. Brees, who still comes in here and trains. It's the mindset of, where are you finding your joy? Where are you finding the most happiness? Where are you finding contentment and fulfillment? That's what I'm seeking now, even with my clients and athletes. I've got a lot of young pups training down in the gym, and they love the discussions that actually go beyond just the playing field. And I'll talk sports all day with them. But when I ask them, hey, how are things going off the field? Tell me about your girlfriend. How you treating her? You being a good man? Now that you start to, you mentor them.
Yep.
So mentor these guys. It's no different than, now we have all of our college kids coming back, and high school kids are training, and it's no different, right? As a coach, it's mentoring. It's mentoring them to be the best that they can possibly be. And to me, that's what makes me tick, is I love it. I don't care if it's a trainer, if it's an athlete, if it's a mom or dad. It's like, let's find that contentment, that joy inside of us, and do more of it.
Yeah, I love it. It's not just about being a better athlete. It's about being a better person. It's about being the best version of yourself in all aspects of your life. And sorry, go ahead.
Kyle, when you say that, but here's the deal. Drew Brees, a tremendous ability to compartmentalize. When you say it's not just about being a great athlete, no, it's not. But when it's time to be a great athlete, let me tell you what, the 90 minutes that we're grinding, there's no talk of, hey, are you being a good daddy at home? Like, no. When it's time to grind, it's time to grind. And the focus and intensity of a session is really like unlike any.
Yeah.
But how can you compartmentalize when you're time to train? If you're on your phone and you're, IGing and DMing and everything else, and you're just, showing up, well, that's good, but it ain't great.
Yeah.
Like if you can, in the 45 minutes, to 90 minutes that you might work out in a day, and maybe you're listening to this podcast here, my podcast, or any podcast you listen to, maybe you're listening, good. If that's going to inspire you and push you, but you're not just making calls or DMing, you're making posts while you're doing that, and you're so scattered that it defeats the purpose of the workout, of getting better, getting your body and mind right. So that ability to compartmentalize is another one, Kyle, that I would say is the greats. The greats have that. The best of the best athletes, entrepreneurs, people who really value their health. It's when it's time to train, it's time to train. Let's go.
Yeah. I like that, being able to kind of shut it off, focus here, and really compartmentalize where you're putting your focus and where you're putting your discipline at that given time, it sounds like.
Absolutely.
Awesome. So can we talk a little bit about that? You mentioned like the intensity. I think that's when people think like elite athletes training, they immediately think of intensity. And we touched on like the importance of foundations. And I know I listened to the Impact podcast as well. And I know I recently heard you telling a story, or speaking with somebody telling a story about a Kobe Bryant as well, and how like the importance of the foundations. I think it was Kobe Bryant, and never getting bored with the foundations, and like the importance of those foundations. Can we touch on a little bit of that, but then also like, what's that intensity like when working with anybody, but how do elite athletes kind of separate themselves from compartmentalizing and being able to go, okay, it's time to train and we're going to go?
Yeah. On the podcast, we were talking about Kobe Bryant and how he trained at 4 a.m.
Yeah.
And the 4 a.m., because he knew that most guys in the offseason train twice a day, but by training at 4 a.m. for him, that gave him the time to train 3 times a day. And not just training in the weight room, but then there were shoot-arounds and there was film reviews. So him mentally, that when you look at the Mamba mentality, mentally, if he was getting in an extra day of working out 5 days a week, 5 times, do the math, for 3 months, if it's 20 workouts extra a month times 3 months, 20, 40, 60 extra workouts, what's that worth? So he did the math and just reverse engineered it into the Mamba mentality of, okay, it's going to entail me going to the gym and being there at 4 a.m. I'm not endorsing, by the way, people going to the gym at 4 a.m. I'm not saying that, but it's a story that Kobe Bryant did because of that Mamba mentality of, I'm going to go and I'm going to train so I can, I can beat that. And the other thing that he talked about, Kobe, and I'm a huge believer in, is fundamentals. Practicing the fundamentals and not getting bored with the fundamentals, because most people, I won't just say kids, because nowadays to get a kid, if you have the same workout for a week, let alone a month, it's too boring. Not boring. Well, what about the fundamentals of working out for anyone? I don't care if you're a kid and you tell me you want to be a great athlete. You might have to squat, dead, bench, and do some cleans most days that you're in the gym. If you're doing that 3 days a week, you might be doing variances of that 3 times a week, doing the fundamentals. Oh, can we do this one-legged Bosu hop over the hurdle? And, people, they saw on Instagram, because they all want to do the sexy Instagram things. It's like, no, you're not ready for that. So let's get stronger. Let's have our base, our foundation set. That's going to entail falling in love with the fundamentals, falling in love with the process. Because if you trust the process, all of a sudden you're going to get bigger, stronger, faster, more explosive. And you got to attack the fundamentals. Because when you can attack the fundamentals now, that's going to allow you to get great progress, progress, for whatever you want to do if you're an athlete and you want to get that. So that's one of the missing arts that many people have lost, is the discipline to do the simple. The basics. Fall in love with the progress and the basics of that. Because if you can do it, many times the best of the best, that's what they do, is they practice over and over again until it becomes second nature. And they've played the game 1,000 times before they played the game, and they visualized it, they've performed it, and they could just almost in auto mode just complete it. So, it's like nutrition. They always ask me, what's the latest biohack? I love biohacks. I've done all the biohacks. Everything from stem cells on it, I've done it. But it don't matter if I'm not eating well and I'm not drinking enough water and I'm eating dessert. It don't matter what collagen protein I take or what stem cells and what cold tubs I plunge in. All of those are great if you're doing the fundamentals. And a lot of times now people want the shortcuts, right? So, man, do the basics, fall in love with the fundamentals of the basics. And in a lot of ways, that is great coaching, is how do you help someone fall in love with doing the basic fundamental things that are going to help them get the results they want.
Yeah. And the people that you see getting results, whether it's weight loss or whether it's an athlete who's performing well, these are the people who have been consistent with those fundamentals. Footwork is a major example of this. It's something that I work with, coaching my students in martial arts with footwork. It's like, why are we doing this same drill again and again? And then when they go to a competition and they're in the middle of a fight and they step off and step in and they don't know, oh, how did I do that? How did I react that way? Because you've trained it, because you've done it over and over and over again, right?
So true. So true. Yep. Toolbox has got to be equipped with not just a lot of tools, but some great, your essential tools. You got to have that. It's like in wrestling. You got to have, you don't have to have 50 different moves. You have 3 or 4 good moves, you're good.
Yeah. Okay. So we got kind of finding that purpose. It sounded like number one, kind of getting to that purpose on like, what's next? What's beyond this? Falling in love with the fundamentals, another thing that these elite athletes do so well to get great results. What else do we have in there?
When you talk about intensity, and you asked me about the intensity of the workouts, I think everyone needs to go to that deep, dark place every now and then And whatever that is that motivates you, whether it be fear of failure, fear of success, fear of the unknown, fear of getting injured, whatever it is, I actually like to go to that place. I think there's that place that's scary that when you can visit it and every now and then hang out there, it actually motivates you to do what needs to get done. It's kind of like signing up for a marathon for someone that hates to run. All of a sudden, when you commit yourself to a half marathon or a marathon, guess what? It's early in the morning. It's minus 10 degrees outside, and you find yourself running because you're scared because you know you're signed up for a marathon or whatever it is coming up. The intensity, again, let's even talk non-athletes here. If you're going out for a walk, and I love walks, but you want to lose 30 pounds and you're not changing your diet, they're going to have to increase your intensity, and you're going to have to integrate some, HIIT training into your program. You have to get some weight training in your program. And every now and then, as long as you're not orthopedically challenged, you've got to get your intensity and your aerobic work going. So like me, I got two fake knees. I call them robotic knees. I got two new knees. Okay. So I can't go out and run a marathon, but you could bet your bottom dollar that I'm going to go out and I'm going to get some great workouts in. I'm going to every now and then do some walk jogs and get after it, find a way to get the job done. And the intensity is going to allow yourself physically and mentally to get your workouts in at the level that you want to get the results that you desire.
Yeah. Awesome. You also mentioned, you mentioned before about blowing your back out. You just mentioned your two fake knees or two artificial knees. That's a big part of this as well, right? And I imagine that's something that you deal with a lot with working with these high-level athletes is injuries and setbacks, and whether it's a mental setback or whether it's a physical setback. Yeah. What becomes really important, or what have you seen that really, really helps with overcoming some of these setbacks? Because that's something that can really make or break somebody's fitness journey.
Yeah. Whew. It's a loaded question. I wrote a book in 2020 called Get Your Mind Right. 2020, June 2020. The world's worst time was 2020. And I wrote a book called Get Your Mind. It came out in 2020. It was all my mindset hacks about getting your mind right for anyone that needs to get their mind right. And to be honest with you, one of the reasons why I wrote that is because every single day I battle to make sure my mind is right. Mm-hmm. After my back injury 25 years ago, fortunately, I was able to heal my back pain without surgery. And for 25 years, I did pretty good. I didn't have any surgery. I wasn't in much pain. I did an okay job stretching and getting body work. I wouldn't say I was like a yogi, and I wasn't getting weekly massage, although my goal is always at least 2 bodywork sessions a month, minimal. But what happened was, and if I go too deep, let me know. But in the middle of the pandemic and trying to save every gym, including my own, every person, Kyle, I burnt out. I was telling everyone, get on my back, get on my back, get on my back. I went live for 91 straight days, telling people, get on my back. We got this. Guess what happened? My back broke, literally broke. I had my second knee replacement. 6 weeks after, all of a sudden, my back starts hurting. I'm like, what the heck is my back hurting for? My back hasn't hurt me in 25 years. Well, what happened was after my second knee surgery, 2018, 2020, 6 weeks after, my back starts hurting. Not only was it hurting, I discovered a 32-degree curvature of my spine, needed a massive fusion and all this stuff. I'm like, what? What the heck? No, God, what are you doing? I got a world to save. It's interesting because as someone who is taking great care of his health, now all of a sudden in 2020, especially 2021, all of 2021, I spent my year in pain. Pain. And when I say pain like I've never felt. I don't know, Kyle, if you, but I bet you there's a listener. Have you ever tried to give to anybody when you're in pain, when you can't even get off the couch because you're in pain and you looking for painkillers or Tylenol PMs and you're popping whatever because you're in pain. I wore a back brace when I was training. I didn't tell my athletes I was in pain, but let me tell you what, I was completely burnt out, shot, and I wouldn't tell them because I don't want them to know that I was in pain. I'm trying to help them be the best they can be. I spent a year in physical pain. Why do I share? Fortunately, today, as I speak with you, I'm not in pain. I actually was doing some slogging today, slow jogging. I have not yet had a back fusion surgery because of a lot of things, including some of the biohacking I was doing, including just time. And I think God literally blessed me and said, it's not your time yet. But I'll say this. My goal, my purpose in life, my purpose is I want to impact 10 million people in my lifetime and motivate and inspire them to be the best version of themselves. When I came out of that back deformity specialist office in 2021, and he told me I needed a massive surgery, I said to my wife, how is this possible? I just wrote a book on Get Your Mind Right. I love the fitness industry. I love healing. I love helping people. And now God's taken this away from me that I can't do this? She looked at me and said, have you ever thought about maybe this isn't happening to you, but it's happening for you so that maybe the message that you're going to start speaking in the second half of your life is going to be about people who are in pain, people who get to the point where they're suicidal, they're depressed, they're down, they're on a couch and they can't get up either. And you're saying, get up, we can move. I'm like, I don't want to hear that, hon. I don't want to hear it. Because she was right. She was right. Since that time in the last year, Kyle, I can't tell you the number of people who have reached out who are not trainers, who are down, who are depressed, who are physically or mentally in pain. And because of a podcast episode they've listened to, or they read the book, and they just have found a little bit of hope and motivation. I'm not saying it's because of my back, but I can tell you this. Pain is an interesting way to communicate to yourself when you can tap into pain. Like I learned the first time and I learned the second time is instead of fighting pain, embrace the pain and ask your pain, what are you teaching me, pain? What are you teaching me? How can I work with you? And I've had an interesting year, 2022. I'm glad that it's coming to a close because while I have gotten out of pain, I'm just starting to hit my stride again where I can wrap all this together because I realize most people are in pain today in some way. Maybe it's not your knee or your back. God has given me those challenges to challenge my own head so that we'll be like, oh, that's that mind right maniac guy. That's that crazy dude who goes on lives and goes nuts. Guess what? It ain't just natural, supernatural, like it just happens. I got to work at it every day like anyone else has to work on it. It starts with movement. It starts with what I'm eating, how I'm sleeping, all these things that some days I'm not sleeping good at all. And I got to find a way to okay, we got to find a way. So I told you I was going to go along with that answer, but it's been an interesting journey in my own healing journey that when I look back, now here's the interesting caveat. Guess what allowed me to start Fitness Quest 10? A back injury. Vaughn Parker came in and had a bad back. I went to the Chargers because they wanted to get out of pain. LT came because he wanted to stay pain-free. I started attracting people who are in back pain and help them. As my career progressed for 25 years in creating all those accolades you said, I realized it was because of my back injury when I was 25 and my dream ended that got me into doing what I do now. And the second iteration, here's my prayer that I'm always asking God. Okay, so what's next? What do you got for me now? And his answer back is trust me, believe, have faith that where you're going to go is you're going to have to go deeper than ever before because guess what? It's going to transcend just Fitness Quest 10. It's going to transcend just the fitness industry because there's a lot of people who are not gym owners or fitness trainers or coaches who are in pain in some way. And my hope is that as I go deeper in my own journey, I can share that journey with the world and in some way provide hope, motivation, inspiration, relief to know that your pain doesn't necessarily define you, but it can actually deliver a dream to you that can take you to wherever you want to go.
Yeah. No, I love that you went deep on that one. I love that you went long on that one, because there's so much there that people can take away, whether they're an elite athlete or whether they're, just somebody who's just looking to live a healthy lifestyle. Like it just resonates so much with me too, of like, we're always coaching ourselves as well. And the question that continues to pop up is one of my favorite coaching questions is, what else could this mean? Right? Like, where's the opportunity in this struggle? Those types of, they sound cliche, but they're very, very powerful things. And again, we circle back to this purpose, right? It's like, it would have been so easy for you to quit, but you continue to check in on, like, what's my purpose here? How do I take this and live my purpose with it? Right?
Yeah.
Powerful stuff, man.
I got asked a question recently. They're like, why didn't you tell people you were in pain? And I did tell my wife and a couple of my inner circle people, but here's why I didn't share with the world why I was in so much pain at the time. Because I didn't want to become my pain. Meaning this, when you're in back pain or knee pain, people are like, hey, how's your back? Hey, how's your back? Hey, how's your back? How's your back? How's your back? How's your back? I'm like, wait a second. I'm this whole spiritual being. I'm a being that I'm not my back or just my knee. That's an orthopedic physical condition. How's my heart? How's my head? Now, physically, those things can affect that. But if people keep asking that question, guess what happens? You have a self-perpetuating process of, you're in pain. You got a bad back. I got a bad knee. I got a bad this. I got a bad that. And all you talk about is your bad back. Yeah. I've studied Dr. John Sarno and a lot of the others enough to know that I didn't want to just be my back. I wanted to make sure that I nurtured my soul. Is like, hey, how's Todd Durkin doing? Like, that's part of it. And I'm going deeper, but my soul is good. My faith is good. My relationship with my wife is great. My kids are great and healthy. So I had to double down on gratitude and journaling and, literally, getting in my journal and my prayer list and my journaling on it was just constantly, as I hold it up, was I got to find the good, and I'm going to write it down. I'm going to perpetuate it. I'm going to say it, because if I just talk about how bad my back is, I'm going to be a train wreck. And how the heck am I supposed to train my athletes when they're like, TD, you going to be able to make it today? They never knew. I had a back brace on. I did what I had to do until after the fact, when I started feeling better. I'm like, hey, listen, the last 9 months have been hell. Like, what? Listen, here's why. Because guess what? They're going to have times when they go through hell as well. Bad season, they get cut, they don't have any opportunities anymore. You get fired from your job. Finances aren't good. Recession, whatever it is, we're all going to have these things. That's when we really got to make sure that those that we're surrounded with, our inner circle, is that you don't not tell anybody, but you can tell the people who are in your inner circle about life and where you're struggling and where you're winning. And you got to really put in your mindset of what you want to try to manifest: health, vibrance, positivity, optimism, peace, joy, fulfillment, contentment, all of these things. Like, this is what I want. And that's what I'm putting my eyes toward versus, oh man, I'm a mess. Because that story you keep telling yourself, it manifests.
Yeah. I mean, there's a whole deeper conversation that we could have there around not talking and, the ins and outs of dealing with things. But the one thing that you mentioned there is like that inner circle. And I think that's so important, is finding that, whether it's a circle of mentors or a community, but that trusted circle that you can really communicate these things with the trust that, you're not going to be constantly triggered with some of these questions and prodding and those types of things. I think that's just so important. And I think that's also something, in my opinion, that I see that, the top people, the top performers, the top business people, athletes, whatever it is, they all have those. They've invested, whether their time, their money, their whatever, into having trusted people in their lives, which I think is so important. And that kind of leads me into what will be one of my last questions for you here, Todd, is how do people fulfill their purpose to create impact? I know these are two big things that we've talked about and that you talk about often, is creating impact and kind of creating that purpose, finding that purpose. How does somebody who's listening to this today, who's maybe resonated with some of these struggles that we've gone over, how do they start to fulfill that purpose? How do they start to create big impact in their life?
Yeah. I'll answer it in a way that may be different than what you would expect, because instead of talking about legacy and all the big stuff that I love talking about, heck, I literally I'm working on, as we record this in late December, I'm working on my big planner, my God-sized dreams planner, right? This is my planner right here, and that's my life. I've got in there in that planner, and gets it, the strategic plan for their life and all the questions that I am answering now. But the way you work on it, if you don't want to go through all of those steps without getting overwhelmed, is you truly search out what's next for you. What's the next step that you can take to step into the best version of you? Now, why do I say that? Because most people are contemplating, how do I find happiness? I'm down, or I'm empty, I'm burnt out. How do I find more fulfillment, more contentment? How do I find more joy? Man, I'm struggling right now. Like, there's a lot of people are saying I'm really down, struggling. So then you got to identify, some of the questions in there are, what brings you the most joy? What's your WLWB? When life works best. When life works best, WLWB. When life works best, what are you doing? Eliminate the things that you don't do well or you're not enjoying, and do more of the things that bring you joy and happiness. I always say have 5 roles. What are your 5 roles? 5 roles. I love podcasting. I love speaking. I love keynoting. So speaking, keynoting. I love coaching. I have a mastermind group for both fit pros and non-fit pros. I love family time, and I love personal care. So do more of those 5 things. More podcasting, more speaking, keynoting around the world, more coaching. I love coaching, more family time, and more personal care. Okay, 80% of my time, if that's around that, I'm happy. But if I realize it's 50% and I'm filling it up with all the other stuff, then I'm not. So identify those things. So I have a whole system that I use. I'm pretty anal about my systems. And it goes everything from your strategic plan into your 90-day wonder, your 10 forms of wealth, 3 and 30, all the way down into your W lag for the week. And that's all in the God-sized dreams planner. That's how I reverse engineer down to what's next. What's next? And when I can journal out every day and get it out on paper, I don't have the anxiety, or at least the anxiousness, that sometimes when you're feeling overwhelmed, you're like, man, overwhelmed. Okay, maybe there's too much on the plate, or you're taking on too much, or maybe you're just not clear on where you should be spending your time. Because if you're doing things that you don't love to do, you're probably feeling stress. If you're doing things that you love to do and your plate is full, that's often called passion. Right? Like, so when you're doing the things you love to do, it's passionate, you want to do it, and you're not feeling angst or anxiety or unhappiness. So I'd say, what's next? What's the most important thing you could be focusing on? Eliminate the noise, focus on the signal of what you should be doing.
Yeah. Yeah. And a big overlapping thing that I'm picking up from this conversation that, that really resonates with me, and, how I work with my clients as well, is you got to put in the work, right? It's great. You listen to this podcast and you're feeling motivated and inspired. Fantastic. That's awesome. We've done our job. But now it's time for you to go and do your job, because now you got to put in the work. You got to ask yourself the questions. You got to journal about it. You got to, put in that work that's going to start to make that difference. Can't just think about it anymore.
Yeah. And Kyle, when you put in the work, what I always say is this: you got to put yourself in the right state of mind to do the work. Well, how do you do that? I love to do the work right after listening to a podcast. So I do my work, my early morning routine. I got my journal. I get my prayer time. I go out for 45 plus minutes of movement time. And that changes the physiological state. By changing your physiological state, you change your psychological state. It's heightened. That's the best time, right, when you change that state, to go do the work that matters most. So what's the work that matters most? I don't know. If whatever that is, go do that work that matters most. If it's writing an article, doing a podcast, that's why I like to record typically in the mornings when I'm doing my podcast. Do your best work when your peak energy and productivity cycles are at their height. Or if you're doing it at 2-3 o'clock in the afternoon, then right before that, change your psychological state by doing 10 to 20 minutes of some form of a movement or breath work to get to the state of mind that heightens you to do the work that matters most.
Yeah, I love it. And Todd, you'll love this because this morning, knowing I had you coming on the show today, I was like, okay, I got to get my mind right. I got to get my workout in. I got to tell you, like, I've been dealing with a shoulder injury myself, and like I had the best workout I've had in a really long time today because I was just like, I got to get myself in that mental state. I know Todd's going to bring the energy like he always does. And so, I had, honestly, the best workout I had probably this month. And so
congrats. And so the answer then is, okay, because you knew you had something big coming up, you went beyond your typical routine. So how do you book more big things coming up? So you push yourself, because what I would say is when my knee was bad, upper body, when my back was acted up for 9 months, found a way, if it meant bear crawling in the backyard to get my mind right. You with your shoulder, maybe you didn't do shoulder raises or presses, but you were working around everything to make sure you put yourself in a psychological state that emanated from a physiological heightened state that now allowed you to come in and be very poignant in this conversation. So kudos, because you just led by example to all your followers and clients that, hey, find a way to get the job done. You got a bad knee, like I got to find a way. I don't care if I have to get in the pool and tread water, swim, get on a ski erg, find a way to move your body, because the physiological state, that is a non-negotiable. You got to make sure you're moving most days of the week just to win the battle between the dome. Yeah.
I know when we say no excuses, it's not about not feeling struggle and stuff like that. It's about, like you said, finding a way, right? I want to be.
You talked about inner circle. You knew that you were coming out with me. You're like, okay, I gotta level up today. So I gotta take my game to a higher level. So you pushed yourself physically to a higher level to prepare for this, knowing you had to be at your A game. That's a prime example of iron sharpens iron, or you said leveling up your inner circle. Because if you don't, and you show up as average or mediocre, then this podcast isn't gonna be any good. And if I didn't get my routine in this morning, I'm gonna show up on this podcast and I'm gonna be very mellow. Nothing wrong with being mellow, but I'm not myself.
Yeah.
I'm not myself. And myself is I get a little overexcited for those of you. I'm on fire because I was excited to talk to Kyle, be on this show, and hopefully reach one of you and said, oh man, he's really talking to me today. I got to get my mind right and get off my duff and find a way to level up my own game in what I do. So that's why we do what we do. And that's why, Kyle, all your loyal listeners listening to you is you level them up today. So great job leading.
Yeah, I appreciate it. I want to be respectful of your time. I know you're a busy man. Before we wrap things here, we've talked about a few things. We've talked about your God-sized dream planner. We talked about the Todd Durkin Impact Podcast Show. Where can people find you, first of all, so they can find all this good stuff? And then the floor is yours if there's anything you want to let people know about that we haven't yet.
Yeah, no, thank you. Man, Todd Durkin Impact Show is my podcast. Love doing my podcast. If you go to todddurkin.com, my website, everything that I have is there, between podcasts, all my books. I love Instagram. I'm on Instagram, Facebook too, but I'm on Instagram a lot. And I love any messages, DMs. If you listen to the show, certainly take a snapshot of where you're at right now listening in, and then tag Kyle and myself. My Instagram handle is just @ToddDurkin. But man, if you want to connect, it's pretty easy to connect with me between social media and my Impact Show podcast. You can get more motivation, inspiration if you want to. But Kyle, I'm just going to end with saying thank you. I'm grateful for you, reaching out to me to ask to be on your show. I always say this: if there's one person who could be helped, and it was my message that helped them, that's impact. And that's my way of life, is my impact that I could leave someday. That's everything I do. It's on it's basically tattooed on my wrist. All my keynotes are about impact and how can I rock a stage, and whether it's 50 people, 500 or 5,000 people, in business or personal, it's all about impact. Living inspired, mastering your craft, playing out world class, taking action, conditioning for greatness, and being tenacious. Tenacity is energy, spirit, and fervor. And hopefully, in some way, today's episode was full of impact and certainly helped your people live a better life.
Absolutely. I definitely think it did, man. Really grateful for you being on. Really grateful for you coming out, and maybe we'll have to do it again another time in the future and get into some of those deeper conversations as well. But yeah, this was great, and thank you.
Appreciate you, Kyle.
Yes, likewise. And thank you to all the listeners and anybody watching. We'll see you in the next episode. All right, Wellness Ninjas, thank you for joining us on this incredible episode. I hope it was impactful for you. If it was, and if you strongly resonated with creating purpose and creating impact in your life, I want you to check out our New Year Ninja Wellness Retreat that we have going on. It's here in Alberta, in beautiful Banff, and we're going to be diving into creating your purpose and setting you up for an impactful 2023. Please check it out. Let us know on social media also how you like this episode. Make sure you take the Wellness Dojo YYC on Instagram, and also Todd Durkin. For additional support or to work with one of us one-on-one, go to our website, www.wellnessdojo.ca. You can also find us on Instagram at Wellness Dojo YYC, or on all other social media platforms searching the Wellness Dojo. We'll see you in the next episode.